Highbridge, a division of Recorded Books, presents Icons and Instincts, choreographing and directing entertainment's biggest stars, by Vincent Patterson, with Amy Tofty. Read by Peter Berkrot. Three. Madonna, is for Muse. Madonna is the only artist I have worked with who haunts my dreams. In my dreams, we laugh, we argue, we make out, we party, we fly together. I have a huge amount of respect for her, and in my own way, I really love her. But it didn't begin that way. The Pepsi commercial. For those who don't remember the pop music scene in the 80s, there were several female stars who were on the cusp of breaking out as the clear leader of the pack. Janet Jackson, Sade, Paula Abdul, Cyndi Lauper, Annie Lennox, Pat Benatar, and Madonna. In February of 1989, I got a call from Joe Pitka, commercial director extraordinaire, asking me to meet him at Culver Studios. We had previously worked together on a few commercials. "Hey, Vince, thanks for coming down," Joe said. Joe, 6'7", with his long mane of white hair, gave me a big bear hug. He explained he was shooting a 2-minute commercial for Pepsi, with Madonna using her new song Like a Prayer. "She's been fucking adamant that she isn't going to dance and she isn't going to sing," he said. "But I want you to just hang around and let's see what the fuck happens." Just as he finished, Madonna came sweeping out of the soundstage with her entourage, headed toward her trailer. Joe introduced me. "Madonna, I want you to meet Vincent Patterson. He's Michael Jackson's choreographer and—" She didn't even glance at me. "I don't need a fucking choreographer," she said, and kept walking. Wow. Okay. My heart dropped. My face plummeted to the ground. Madonna could cut you down faster than anyone. After chasing my face around the studio backlot, calling, "Here, face! Here, face!" I finally collected myself. Joe enticed me to stay. Shooting began, and I walked inside the soundstage. I hung out in the shadows and watched them work. Joe was attempting to get a solo shot of Madonna. He was using the camera on a crane, beginning at a position below stage level. The direction was for the camera to be at eye level to catch Madonna at the precise moment she finished to turn and face the camera. It wasn't working. If Madonna was on, the camera was off, or vice versa. Her patience was wearing thin, and she was letting everyone know it. "I think I can fix this," I whispered to Joe. "Then go the fuck over and talk to her." "Madonna?" I said. "Hi, I'm Vincent. I am not choreographing anything, but if I can put this on counts for you and the crane operator, Joe can get the shot and you can get out of here." "We'll do it then." I asked Madonna and the crane operator to move on my counts, so they would both hit the right spot at the same time. It worked. Joe got the shot in one take, and everyone breathed a huge sigh of relief. On her way off the soundstage after the shot, Madonna passed by and smiled at me. Being smiled at by Madonna felt good, really good. Joe looked at me for a moment with his wry smile and said, "Can you come back tomorrow?" "Anything for you, Joe." I came back. But the word from Madonna was still clear. No dancing, no singing. The story of the commercial began with Madonna watching home movies of herself at her 8th birthday party. The child actress version of Madonna and adult Madonna crossed over between the two worlds. At one point in the commercial, Joe wanted some dancers to dance down a street and enter a soda fountain where Madonna would be hanging out. I started putting together some choreography and teaching it to the dancers. They were learning the movement, until one by one, everyone stopped paying attention to me and started staring over my shoulder. I turned around, and there was Madonna. She had come out of her makeup trailer in her big robe and slippers. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Oh, it's nothing for you," I replied nervously. "It's just something Joe wants in the background." "Well, let me change my clothes and show me." Madonna was now curious. I showed her. She liked it. From that moment on, Madonna was tuned into me. She didn't dance very much in the commercial, but I focused on giving her suggestions for her movement. I created body language that looked natural on her. Madonna was happy. Joe was happy. I was happy. The final product was sexy and cool with just the right amount of physical narrative. I really hoped she would remember me. It was 1989. When the commercial was released, it only aired once during an ad break for The Cosby Show, but it was viewed by 250 million people in 40 countries. It was pulled by the networks almost immediately. Right-wing Christian groups were scandalized by the music video for Like a Prayer, in which burning crosses fill the set and Madonna kisses a black man who plays a Catholic saint. Because the same music track was used for the commercial, Pepsi was boycotted. But Madonna had already made her mark and emerged with a great song, a controversial commercial, and plenty of rebellious freedom of expression to start inching past her female competition. Express Yourself. Not long after the commercial, I was asked by Madonna and director David Fincher to choreograph the music video for Express Yourself. Madonna had performed mostly freestyle dancing in all her previous videos, yet she called herself a dancer, having trained both in college and New York City. I wanted to exploit that. I sensed her hunger as well as her bravery. She was ballsy and beautiful, and no one was going to stop her. First, I created calisthenics choreography for a group of male dancers in the video. Madonna's choreography included sensual movement performed in a boudoir, while she's standing in front of a mirror in tight lingerie. Though we had rehearsed it, when the cameras rolled, she started changing a lot of my movement. "Madonna," I told her, "if you don't need me, that's fine." "No, I just want to look good." "You can trust me," I said. "I know how to make a woman look good." And I did. I had learned from my mentors, Michael Peters and Lester Wilson, who had worked with sexy female stars like Anne Margaret, Lola Falana, Diana Ross, and the cast of Dreamgirls. Madonna danced my choreography on the rest of the takes, and she looked fantastic. Throughout Express Yourself, Fincher and Madonna realized that, as a choreographer, I created more than dance steps. I staged Madonna on even the smallest movements, showing her how to sit elegantly in a chair with a cigarette holder, how to walk across a room with a slinky style, how to sensuously crawl across a floor and drink milk from a cat's bowl, how to sit half-naked in a bed with just the right touch of eroticism. During that bed scene, Madonna made a huge fuss about clearing the set because she was naked under her white satin robe and bedding. The assistant director firmly shouted, "Clear the set! Everyone who doesn't have to be here, get out!" The irony, and I loved this about her, was that as soon as we all started working, Madonna had absolutely no problem exposing her breasts to anyone who wanted to gawk. I could see the transformation as the shoot continued, and so could she. Madonna soaked everything up like a sponge, as cliched as it sounds. She reminded me of Michael Jackson in that she wouldn't settle for anything less than perfection. We got to the scene in Express Yourself, where she was dancing atop a giant staircase in a man's suit, and she had to strike a final pose for the shot. "Hey, Vincent, what should I do with my left hand?" she called to me from the top of the staircase. I called back, "Why don't you grab your balls? You've got bigger balls than anyone else here." So the female version of the crotch grab found its way into homes across the world through the magic of MTV, the brazenness of Madonna, and an offhanded joke. The Blonde Ambition Tour. With the Blonde Ambition Tour, Satan has been re-released into the world. Pope John Paul II. During Express Yourself, Madonna told me she wanted me to work on her upcoming tour. We had been in sync in both of our previous collaborations, and I shared her work ethic. A month went by, and I heard through the grapevine that Madonna was holding auditions for dancers for her new tour. I was surprised and disappointed. My agents called her manager, Freddie DeMann, inquiring if she was still interested in my participation. The answer was firm. No. Madonna has decided to go in a different direction and is going to work with someone else. In her quest to be on the cutting edge, Madonna made the decision to hire Carol Armitage, a modern ballet choreographer with a dance company in New York. After seeing about 1,000 candidates, Madonna and Carol hired several Vogue street dancers from New York, a hip-hop dancer, and some ballet and jazz dancers from Los Angeles. I decided to let it go. Several weeks later, I got a phone call from Madonna. "Hi, Vincent, it's Madonna," she said. "How are you?" She had never called my house before. She hemmed and hawed a bit, then blurted out that she had made a mistake because Carol didn't understand the pop world. After weeks of rehearsals, not one song had been staged. And to make matters worse, the dancers didn't respect Carol in the rehearsal room. It had reached a point, I heard, where some of the dancers were flicking lit cigarette butts at her. Tour dates had been set, but the show was stalled, and Madonna sounded desperate. She asked me to come in and take over. "You know how to work with me, how to talk to me," she said. "You have a sense of command, and the dancers will respect you. You're the right person. Can you do this, please?" I knew I was the right person, too, and I was dying to work with her again. It's especially exciting to create with a hugely talented performer early in their career, to contribute to an artist's image. At that early stage, they are hungry and they still listen. Madonna, like Michael Jackson, was ambitious, and she wanted to break every rule she could. She was calling this show the Blonde Ambition Tour. Talking about it with her got me excited for the possibilities. Instead of simply presenting hit songs, she wanted to synthesize fashion, Broadway theater elements, and performance art. Together, we were going to reinvent the entire pop concert experience. "Madonna, I'd love to do it. I have to get my agent involved because right now I'm choreographing the movie Havana for Sidney Pollack. But let's see what he can do with the schedule. And Madonna, I want to direct it or co-direct it with you. I don't want to be just the choreographer." At that time, performers like Mike and Madonna took directing credits for their live tours, as did most performers before them. That's simply the way it was done. I wanted credit for choreographing and directing. I had worked on several projects without getting credit for my work or vision as a director, which was clearly what was going to happen here. "Okay," she said. Her agent sent my agent an offer. Money had been spent on the first choreographer, and her team wanted to pay me a smaller fee to help recoup some expenses. My agent came back to them with a figure that was not extravagant, considering the amount of work I was about to undertake. I had a month to create an entire 2-hour show. The contract as a work for hire gave Madonna the rights and complete ownership to everything I would create. In retrospect, that was a mistake, but it was standard practice. Madonna's people refused our counteroffer. I had to weigh the pros and cons of working on the tour and decided that my offer was fair. I stood my ground. My agent picked up the phone a couple days later, and Madonna was on the line. She was furious. "What do you think I am?" she fumed. "A bank?" "No, Madonna," my agent replied. "You're not a bank. You're an institution." She refused to budge. So on the day I was supposed to begin work, rather than be depressed about losing this incredible gig, I decided to go to the movies and shake off the sadness. When I got home later that afternoon, there were 5 messages on my machine from my agent. This was pre-cell phone days. "Vincent, where are you?" With the clock ticking and the opening date looming, Madonna finally agreed to the deal. I rushed to Alley Cat's studio in Hollywood, where Madonna and her company were rehearsing. When I walked in the room, the performers looked up with elated faces. Madonna was formal and cold, begrudging me my win in the negotiations. But I knew her attitude would soften. We had to get to work. I asked everyone to show me what had been created. All that existed was a partially completed opening song, Express Yourself, and the choreography was just a riff on what I had created for the music video. Maintaining the style from the video, I completed the entire piece with a section for the 7 male dancers, including Kevin Stay, Carlton Wilborn, Gabriel Truppen, Oliver Crooms, Salim Haoulous, another from Madonna, Nikki Harris and Donna DeLury, her 2 backup singers, and a third that included the entire company. The next day, they would film the video for Vogue, directed by David Fincher. Luis Camacho and Jose Gutierrez, the 2 Vogue dancers from New York who completed the cast, had created fascinating movement. Madonna asked me if I would take a look and clean it, so I did. I had a feeling about this song. That was the afternoon of day 1. I would have 23 days to complete 17 more songs for the tour. The one thing that saved me from feeling overwhelmed was the talent in that room. I knew those performers would execute anything I could devise with technical perfection and electric star power. The first thing Madonna and I did together was revise the order of the song list for the Blonde Ambition tour. Vogue was originally placed in the center of the show, but I wanted to move it to the end of the concert as her finale. "Really?" she said to me. "You think it will be big?" "I think it's going to be huge," I said. My next suggestion was to put Keep It Together as her closing encore. Madonna planned on opening this song with an excerpt from Family Affair by Sly and the Family Stone, and I suggested she use the performance to say goodbye to her family of performers on stage, as well as to the audience. From that point, we launched our 23-day sprint in the rehearsal studio. There was no time to even contemplate the insanity of such a schedule. This was my strategy. At night, I would decide which song I would choreograph the next day. I recorded a cassette with that song repeated about 50 times. Just before sleep, I put the tape recorder by my bed, put the earphones on, and listened to the full tape as I fell asleep. In my dreams, I would visualize the concept and actual segments of choreography. In the morning, I'd wake up with a sketch in my head. I would meet with my assistants, Smith Woodis and Kevin Stay, at the rehearsal studio in the morning before anyone else arrived, and we'd physically work out the piece. Around noon, we would teach the dancers and singers the choreography, and then Madonna would join us to learn her part. She spent every morning working out and rehearsing with the band prior to coming to me. That was the routine we committed to for 3 unbelievably intense weeks. Madonna was now riding a wave of pop chart success. Tickets were selling. She was totally aware that the tour had to deliver fantastic reviews and sell out crowds. Failure on any front was not an option. To say it was stressful for all of us would be an understatement, but we devoted ourselves to the challenge and the sweating, as the rehearsal room resounded with hard work and laughter. Madonna granted me carte blanche to create whatever my imagination produced, as I stuck my finger into the electric socket of creative energy. For Like a Virgin, Madonna played me the song she and the band had put together. It was a raw, heavy, dark rock version with a Patti Smith feel. I had something a little different in mind. I had recently befriended a Yemenite singer named Ofra Haza, who had meshed her native Yemenite sound with club music. Ofra had given me her song, Im Ninalu, which was topping charts all over Europe. It had a hot Middle Eastern sound that was cutting edge in world music. I took it to Madonna. "This is a friend of mine. I want you to listen to this because it's fantastic, and I have an idea for Like a Virgin using this style of arrangement." She took it home with her that night. She loved the sensual and exotic style. I shared my vision about her on a giant bed, with 2 of the male dancers at the top of the bed like bedposts, with giant tree limbs strapped to their arms. I knew the two voguers would give me the opportunity to do incredible movements with their flexibility and double-jointed bodies. When she came into rehearsal the following day, she had a sly smile on her face. "Look what I found," she almost sang. From out of a bag, she pulled an insane velvet cone bra that Jean-Paul Gaultier had made for her, but she had never used. I flipped. "Fabulous," I said. "Forget the tree arms. It's going to be all about these cone bras." I couldn't have been happier than having both men dancing in cone bras. Madonna had Gaultier design a version of the cone bra for her costume. Throughout the song, the eunuchs fondled their bras, as well as caressed Madonna's body, and the piece ended with Madonna simulating masturbation as she thrashed around on the bed. It was sexy and humorous, totally innovative, and fucking outrageous. The tour was faced with legal action more than once over the Like a Virgin performance. In several cities, including Toronto, the police came to the concert and threatened to physically stop the show if she performed the song. But Madonna, as I noted earlier, had big balls and loved to flaunt them. After the show caused major controversy in Italy, Madonna made a press statement. "I am proud to be an American. It is the country that gave me the opportunity to be who I am today, and a country that believes in freedom of beliefs and artistic expression. My show is not a conventional pop show, but a theatrical presentation of my music. And, like theater, it asks questions, provokes thought, and takes you on an emotional journey, portraying good and bad, light and dark, joy and sorrow. I do not endorse a way of life, but describe one, and the audience is left to make its own decisions and judgments. This is what I consider freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and freedom of thought." In hindsight, I realized that the time pressure in rehearsals worked to my advantage, because there wasn't time for Madonna to question anything I created. Well, almost. When we worked on the religious section of the show that included Like a Prayer, I wanted the guys to raise her above their heads in a lift. "I don't want to be lifted like some girl," Madonna declared decisively. "No, Madonna, it's not like a girl," I said. "It's like a queen." "Okay, boys," she said, "lift me." We all broke into laughter. Fast thinking was one of the keys to collaborating with Madonna. You had to be as quick as she was. When she pushes back, you damn well better be ready with an answer or a direction. She kept you on your toes every single moment. I was crazy about her. After completing the work at Alley Cat, we moved to the Disney studios to assemble the show on our stage. It was a major push to the very end. We had only a few weeks to piece everything together and complete the technical rehearsals. Madonna was dating Warren Beatty at the time, and he came by one day to watch the show, specifically the Dick Tracy section. She wanted Warren to give us notes. After the run-through, Warren and I sat on the couch in Madonna's trailer, waiting for her to change into comfortable clothes. She came out to greet us completely naked. "Madonna," I said, "go put some clothes on." "What's wrong?" she said playfully. "Can't you handle it?" "Oh, I can handle it," I said, "but we're going to have a serious conversation, so please put some clothes on." Warren gave us a suggestion to put Madonna on the piano for sooner or later, which I did. The tour opened in Japan on April 13th, 1990. It poured rain and was dangerous as hell as the dancers slipped and slid all over the stage. But we knew we had something very special and were dying to take it back to the States. The official U.S. World Tour kickoff was in Houston, Texas, on May 4th, 1990. It was my 40th birthday. My mom and her husband Hank came to the show, and it was glorious to share it with them. At the after-party, Madonna wheeled in a huge birthday cake and sang Happy Birthday to me. I felt like JFK being sung to by Marilyn Monroe. The show catapulted Madonna beyond the stratosphere, leaving her female pop rivals in her wake. The controversial elements in Blonde Ambition caused an additional stir, and everyone from rabid fans to God-fearing detractors were talking about Madonna. Pope John Paul II condemned the show and called for Christians everywhere to boycott performances. He released a public statement through the Vatican calling the show an abomination. And yes, his most famous quote, "Satan has been re-released into the world." Oh my God, I thought with joy. I did that? Photos of Madonna in her pale pink bustier and bleached blonde ponytail headlined newspapers and magazines. Video clips of segments of the show were broadcast around the world. Rolling Stone magazine named it the best tour of 1990. I didn't travel with the tour, except to fly to Stockholm to put the show in tip-top shape for the filming in Paris for the Truth or Dare documentary. When I saw it, after it being on tour, I was elated and proud, but for one thing. By the time I got to Sweden, she had added nearly 50 fucks to her onstage banter to shock the audience. I mentioned to her that the show already had enough shocking moments, but with a smile she told me to fuck off. That was Madonna. Madonna could also be sweet, adorable, and generous. She gave gifts. She took everyone to dinners at fantastic restaurants, and she invited the cast to go clubbing with her. She was gorgeous with her exquisite porcelain skin and her wicked intellect. You can say anything you want about Madonna, but of any celebrity I've ever met, she knows how to live. She charges after everything she wants, usually gets it, and flourishes in the experience of living her life. Critics and fans still talk about the Blonde Ambition tour as their favorite Madonna tour of all time. It was revolutionary. Madonna's intimate performance style influenced female pop stars including Lady Gaga, Britney Spears, and Beyoncé. More importantly, Madonna and I changed the face of pop tours from simple concerts to theatrical spectacles with themes, dazzling costumes, and extravagant production numbers. In August 2016, 26 years after its premiere, Madonna Truth or Dare, the documentary of the Blonde Ambition tour, was shown at MoMA in New York City. Madonna showed up for the screening in support of the film's director, Alec Kashishian. Guests were flabbergasted as Madonna sat through the movie with an entourage, including her exotically stunning daughter, Lourdes. As the final credits rolled, Madonna and her company began to leave the theater. I was standing in the back, and as she walked past me, I said, "Hi, Madonna." "Vince," she said, grabbing my hand and kissing my cheek. Motioning toward the film screen, she said, "You did great work." Vogue, Marie Antoinette. It was 1990. The Blonde Ambition tour had ended, and the MTV Awards were about to happen. Madonna had decided to perform Vogue with the cast from the tour. She called to ask me if I could create yet another version of the song. After helping with the video and then conceiving a new interpretation for the tour, I wasn't sure I could find inspiration for yet another angle for Vogue. I was thinking of putting the men in skirts and Donna, Nikki, and me in men's suits, she said. "But you've already done that," I replied. "Look, I'll go into a studio, and if I feel I can create something new, I'll call you. And if I can't, you can find someone else." In my closet, I had a collection of large fans left over from a Diana Ross project that never happened. On a whim, I grabbed them. As I worked with the fans, I realized voguing could be related to the gesturing of the mid-18th century men of the royal courts. I envisioned Madonna as Marie Antoinette as I played with the fans to the song. I called her Adrenalized. "Madonna, I have an incredible idea. I have these large lace fans, and I can create something with you as Marie Antoinette and everyone else as members of your court." "That sounds like shit," said Madonna with a tang of humor in her voice. She came to Alley Cat Studios to see what I had done. There was an earthquake just as she walked in the room. I remember pulling her into a doorway where we huddled together for some seconds of shaking. Then I showed her the piece. As you may know, Madonna embraced the Marie Antoinette version of Vogue and opened the 1990 MTV Music Awards with it. It was stunning. She was dazzling. The performance became iconic, becoming viral before we knew what viral meant. At the same time, I was directing an AIDS benefit in Los Angeles called Commitment to Life, starring Rod Stewart, Sarah Brightman, and Melissa Etheridge, among others. It was happening the night immediately following the MTV Awards. While running through the dance for the cameras in the afternoon of the MTV performance, I asked Madonna if she would be willing to open the Commitment to Life show with our Marie Antoinette Vogue, and not tell a soul it was going to happen. Of course, Madonna, who was a fervent activist at the front of the international AIDS crisis, jumped right on it. The following evening, we opened the curtains in the intimate Wiltern Theater to Madonna, now the biggest female pop star in the world, and her incredible company. The packed house was treated to a live encore of her now buzzed-about Marie Antoinette Vogue, and gave her and the dancers a 7-minute standing ovation. The Academy Awards. Madonna had recorded the song Sooner or Later for the film Dick Tracy. It was written by Stephen Sondheim and nominated for an Academy Award. Madonna was asked to appear at the 1991 Oscars to perform the song. She called me. "Hey, Vince, I'm going to do Sondheim's song for the Oscars. Want to have some fun?" "I'd love to do it," I told her. "Why don't we push the Marilyn envelope, and let's give the world a version of you they'll never forget?" We decided on 4 elements for the dance: a strapless beaded gown, a white mink stole, a stand-up microphone, and a hot pink Austrian draped curtain. We rehearsed on Vine Street in Hollywood with a drummer and a pianist. It was just the 4 of us at the rehearsals, and the ideas flowed easily between 2 creative friends. For her Oscar performance, I wanted a gasp moment at the top of the number, rising from beneath the floor in front of the pink Austrian drape. Madonna, in her strapless gown, sang the entire first verse with her back to the audience. After facing the audience, she sulked and oozed her way through the song in a terrific, titillating voice. A real chanteuse. Toward the finale, she smacked the floor with that white mink stole like a high-paid stripper. Then, placing the microphone back in the stand, finished the song and slunk off the stage. After the show, I drove home drunk on happiness. Sometimes things just go right. I listened to congratulatory phone messages from friends and family, then turned on the TV and watched the recorded segment. I grinned as I saw my name roll by on the screen with an entire single-card credit. Sooner or Later, choreography by Vincent Patterson. Things don't get better than this, I thought. The phone rang. It was about midnight. It was my father. "Hi, hon. I just can't believe it." He was crying and drunk. "I watched the Academy Awards, and I still can't believe it." "What, Dad?" "It's incredible. Did you know that they said 1 billion people watched that program?" "I think it was more like 50,000, Dad. But isn't that amazing?" I was still reeling, especially from the rare occurrence of having my name in the credits. "Do you know what that means?" he asked. "What, Dad?" "That means 1 billion people saw my name up there." Dear old Dad. People can love her or hate her, but Madonna's legacy is forever. After Blonde Ambition, Express Yourself, Vogue, and her Oscar appearance, no one could touch her. And she wasn't done yet. Not with the world, and not with me. 4. Let's get physical. Dancing through the 80s in La La Land.